Hello out there to everyone at the liveactionanime.org forums. I'm Thrash Till Death, and I come to you today with a review of a movie that I've been pining to see for a good year now or so. That movie is Masahiro Ando's Sword of the Stranger, which I've taken the liberty of ordering on Region 1 DVD from America before it even got the Region 2 release here that it's due in about a month's time. That's how badly I wanted to see it. So, the story goes that there's a boy named Kotaro in feudal Japan who's on the run from a group of Ming mercenaries from the Ming Dynasty of China who have been given a prophecy that drinking this boy's blood at a specific time will grant them the medicine of immortality. Kotaro obviously doesn't like this arrangement, so he's on the run in Japan. The Ming have followed him there. And he runs into this nameless swordsman who, with a bound shut sword, he can't take it out of his scabbard, but he seems to have had some sort of dark and edgy past, like every hero needs to have these days. And this swordsman takes Kotaro under his wing and tries to protect him from the Ming mercenaries, seemingly as an act of redemption for the past that's gradually revealed to us over the course of the film. Also entering into the fray are a group of monks who are torn between their duty towards Buddhism and the survival of their monastery, and the local Japanese warlord and the samurai who are charged with keeping the mercenaries from the Ming Dynasty in their care. The movie sort of takes its cue from old samurai actioners like Ninja Scroll way back in the 90s, in that it's basically a good blood and guts action movie that also has the liberty of being very well written and spends a good first half to two-thirds of the film building up an extremely strong and taut web of intrigue, maneuvering all the different factions and the different characters into place just to build up the right volatile mixture to come up with all the mother of all battle scenes at the end. And it does lay out the structure of the film in an extremely taut and compelling way. It's very entertaining to watch even when the action scenes aren't on screen. There's a variety of memorable characters on offer. No Name, Nanashi, as he's been dubbed by the fans, is quite an interesting example of the sort of hero on the search for redemption. There's the European swordsman who's with the Ming mercenaries called Luo Lang, or that's the Chinese name that he goes by, who's come to Japan in search of a decent opponent worthy of his skills. There's the Japanese feudal lord who's trying to keep his clan alive, and his warlord under him, who's torn between his loyalty to his clan and his own search for power. And all sorts of other characters like that who have all got their own ambitions and stated goals that just get followed through to their logical conclusion over the course of the film in this web of intrigue that builds into this final dramatic confrontation. And it's a really compelling, strong plot to see follow out, and it's one that keeps you enthralled right to the very end. The other main point in this film's favour, and the one that tempted me into watching it to begin with and following it for so long, is the quality of the action scenes. There have been loads of samurai-based anime in the last few years that have given us sort of sword fights that have really begun to bring anime out of the sort of era of speed lines and still frames passed off as action. Stuff like Samurai Champloo, Afro Samurai, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Black Lagoon, all those sorts of things. But with Sword of the Stranger, Studio Bones, whose animation track record is an excellent one, if perhaps a little haphazard, maybe not as consistently the same level of quality as Production IG, but when they hit their heights, they are heady heights indeed. With Sword of the Stranger, they have pushed the animated fight scene to the next level. these are some of the most meticulously organized and animated fight scenes that have ever been committed to the screen. It gives you this sort of sensation that every sword stroke, every blow being thrown has the potential to really be lethal, and that leads to some of the most incredibly epic and tense and exhilarating action sequences that have ever been committed to film, animated or otherwise. Masahiro Ando's direction is very dynamic and fluid, but it never sort of distracts. It never obscures the viewer's vision of the characters who are on screen. Also, in the animation stakes, this film is gratefully mostly rendered in 2D. It's mostly hand-drawn, with just a few little touches of tastefully employed 3D here and there. In my Skycrawlers review, I mentioned that I don't have any particular objection to 2D and 3D animation being mixed, but it's a hard balance to get right. But Sword of the Stranger does manage to hit that note almost perfectly, and it does have a very strong and refreshing aesthetic. The character designs are nice. The scenery is very nice to look at. There's a lot of shots of the fortresses and landscape, and those are just a joy to sort of take in as part of the period piece. And it just has this whole air of no corners have been cut, much like sort of Steamboy 5 years ago, where it really shows that the animation has the attention to detail that viewers really deserve. That said, I don't think it's a perfect example of an action anime. It doesn't quite hit the heights of Ninja Scroll, which is its most obvious influence. Part of the reason for that is the character of Kotaro, the boy who's on the run from the main swordsman. He's essentially a MacGuffin. There's a little bit of sort of chemistry between him and the no-name swordsman, who's the hero of the piece, obviously. But there's scenes of no-name teaching Kotaro to ride and to handle a sword, and them arguing over his employment price and stuff like that. But generally, it's the sort of the closest thing that the film comes to comic relief, and Kotaro's backstory isn't really gone into in the same depth that No Name's is. So, yeah, it feels like his character could have been fleshed out a little more. Also, the film does try to go into the sort of old Japanese Chambara Jidaigeki themes of sort of honor and redemption and the divide between corrupt samurai and ronin who are just wandering warriors working from meal to meal, the lust for power between loyalty to one's master and all that sort of thing. But the thing is, it never really seems to go into these themes in any great degree of depth. It really does seem like it's making an effort to imbue what's essentially a straight-up action movie with some sort of thematic resonance, but it ends up feeling a little shallow in what it does attempt. And the result of that is that some of the pacing, which is otherwise excellent in an otherwise excellent action movie, it ends up sort of breaking up the flow from fight scene to talkie scene to fight scene again, and it feels like some of the rhythm that the film has otherwise gets thrown off beat from time to time. So in a strange way, in attempting to be more than it is, it sort of becomes less than it could have been, if that makes any sense. But nevertheless, I'd still advise you to pick Sword of the Stranger up if you can. It's getting its UK release here on October the 26th. So if you're in the UK, I strongly advise you to pick it up once it gets released, because it is a really, really strong piece of animated action, and probably one of the best examples of the genre in years when it comes to samurai anime. So yeah, this is definitely one to watch out for, even if it doesn't quite hit the heady heights that Ninja Scroll did way back in 1993. On the 4-star scale, I'd probably give this a 3, a very strong 3 bordering on a 3.5. I just like to make that clear. because, you know, I came into this film really wanting to experience a masterpiece, but I had to admit after I'd seen it that it wasn't quite the greatest film I'd ever witnessed, but still really, really good and worth every penny spent on it. So yeah, this is definitely one to check out if samurai anime is your bag, and even if it's not, this is still definitely a good watch. So yep, Sword of the Stranger gets a strong and hearty recommendation from me. Sorry about the lack of updates these last couple of months. I've set myself a target that before the end of this year, my YouTube account currently has 22 videos uploaded. This will be the 23rd. I want to get up to 30 by the end of the year, so you can expect more quality reviews from me before the year is out. So, again, hope to see you soon. I'm Thrash Till Death, and go and watch Sword of the Stranger. Goodbye.